Die Hard made $28 million against a budget under 30, kicked off a 5-film franchise, and somehow started as the 4th-choice novel adaptation nobody wanted to make. That's not an exaggeration. That's where we're starting. Here's what's coming. A 70-year-old singer had legal power to kill this movie before it even got made. A first-time film actor nearly got fired for blinking at the wrong moment. And the sequel to this movie has an ending so dark, so brutal, that the studio buried it and pretended it never existed. So here's the question I want you sitting with for the next 13 minutes. What if the real John McClane, the one the filmmakers actually wanted you to see, was never the wisecracking hero we got in theaters? What if somewhere out there is a version of this franchise where McClane doesn't save the day, he just gets even? Let's start at the beginning, because the beginning is where this whole thing almost didn't happen. Die Hard isn't an original story. It's based on a 1979 novel called Nothing Lasts Forever, and that novel was itself a sequel to an earlier book called The Detective. In 1968, The Detective got turned into a movie starring Frank Sinatra. Nobody remembers that today. But here's the part that matters. Sinatra's contract for that 1968 film gave him right of first refusal on any future adaptation connected to that character. Legally, technically, on paper, Frank Sinatra had to be offered the lead role in Die Hard before anyone else could touch it. Now you'd think that's just a funny footnote. Sinatra was 70 years old by 1987. Obviously, he wasn't going to play a barefoot cop crawling through air ducts and diving off exploding rooftops. But contracts don't care about common sense. The studio had to make the offer for real, wait for the real answer before they were free to cast anyone else. And once Sinatra passed, the search didn't just go to Bruce Willis. It went everywhere first. Sinatra turned it down. And then the list of men who also turned it down reads like a who's who of 80s action cinema. Sylvester Stallone, Clint Eastwood, Harrison Ford, Burt Reynolds, Nick Nolte, Mel Gibson, Don Johnson, Richard Dean Anderson, even Arnold Schwarzenegger was in the mix and chose to make twins instead. The studio then pivoted toward older, more weathered actors closer to the novel's version of the character, guys like Paul Newman, James Caan, and Al Pacino. All of them said no. Every single A-list action name in Hollywood passed on what would become one of the most quoted movies ever made. And the reason they finally landed on Bruce Willis is almost as strange as the rejections. Willis was a TV actor, known for the romantic dramedy Moonlighting, with basically one film credit to his name. He only became available because his Moonlighting co-star Sybil Shepherd got pregnant and production paused for 11 weeks. That gap is what let Willis take the role nobody else wanted. An unproven sitcom actor became an action icon by accident. That underdog energy didn't stop with the casting. It bled into the entire production. Here's something most fans never clock when they rewatch this movie. Nakatomi Plaza wasn't a set built from scratch. It was Fox's own corporate headquarters, and at the time, it was still under construction, not fully finished. The studio essentially used its own real unfinished building and charged its own production company rent to shoot there. Screenwriter Jeb Stewart has talked about physically touring the building while writing and working real fixtures he found into the script. There's a scene where McClane and one of the terrorists fight on a rolling office cart. That cart wasn't a prop designed for the scene. It was something Stewart saw on his walkthrough and wrote in because it was already there. That also meant working around real life. Parts of the building still had active office tenants during filming, and gunfire and explosion scenes had to be scheduled so they didn't disrupt actual employees working in the same tower. Imagine going to your cubicle job and the floor below you is shooting Die Hard. And there's one more production detail that's genuinely wild. The Nakatomi corporate logo went through a redesign mid-production because an early version of it looked uncomfortably close to a swastika. The team reworked it into something that reads more like a samurai helmet, and that's the version that made it into the final film. A detail almost nobody consciously notices. sitting in the background of practically every scene in the second half of the movie. So you've got an underdog lead in a real unfinished building, working around a redesigned logo nobody talks about. But the most human story in this entire production, the one that actually raises the stakes, belongs to the villain. Alan Rickman had never been in a movie before Die Hard. 0 film credits. He was a respected stage actor, cast largely off a Broadway run, and by most accounts, he was nervous the entire shoot. Here's the part that almost got him pulled from the production entirely. Rickman had a physical, uncontrollable flinch every time he fired a gun. He'd blink. Studio executives reviewing the dailies reportedly thought it made him look weak, unconvincing, wrong for a commanding villain. There were real conversations about whether he should be recast this early into his very first film role. Producer Joel Silver and cinematographer Jan de Bont stepped in and vouched for him, and the production found a workaround instead of a replacement. Director John McTiernan learned to cut away from Rickman's face at the exact moment he pulled the trigger, hiding the flinch in the edit. Watch closely next time, and you can actually catch the moment he shoots Takagi. There's a flicker there, if you know what to look for. That blink never fully went away. It got managed, camera cut by camera cut, for the entire shoot. And it connects right back to our thesis. This wasn't a director casting a seasoned action heavy. This was a stage actor with a physical tell, kept in the film through improvisation and editing tricks, who ended up delivering one of the most respected villain performances in movie history. That improvisation streak wasn't limited to camera angles either. The now iconic face-to-face scene between McClane and Gruber, where they meet without either one knowing who the other really is, wasn't originally written as a scene between those two characters at all. It came together on set after the crew realized Rickman could pull off a convincing American accent. Actor Hart Bochner's line, "Hans, Bubby," was improvised in the moment, and Rickman's confused, thrown-off reaction on camera is genuine, not acted.
Hans, Bubby, I'm your white knight.
Honestly, I want to know what you think here. If a first-time actor with a visible flinch problem walked into your audition today, would you have kept him or cut him loose? Drop your answer in the comments, because the industry almost went the other way on this one. The role came with real physical cost too. During the wall-scaling stunt sequence, Rickman felt his own knee crack on landing. And for his legendary final fall off the building, the crew told him he'd be released on a count of 3. He was actually dropped on 2. That look of genuine shock on his face in the finished film isn't a performance. That's a real person being caught off guard by the people he trusted to catch him. So we've covered the actor nobody trusted, the building nobody expected, and the villain who almost didn't survive his own blinking problem. But none of that is the band ending this video promised you. And here's where it gets complicated, because the alternate material connected to the original Die Hard is actually pretty minor. There's an international and TV cut with a small extra beat where McClane jokes with Holly about her watch having a warranty as Argyle's cruiser passes in the background. Plus an extended sequence before the vault opens involving a city engineer, a local power cut, and the vault's backup power holding until Agent Johnson orders the whole grid shut down. Fun, but small potatoes. If that's all there was, this video wouldn't be worth 15 minutes of your time. So, where's the real band ending? It's not in the original Die Hard. It's in the sequel that followed it 7 years later. And once you see it, you'll understand why it stayed buried. Die Hard with a Vengeance, the third film in the series, was originally shot with a completely different ending than the one you've seen. In the finished film, McClane shoots down a helicopter, and the villain, Simon Gruber, dies in a fiery, almost comic book action beat. But the version that was actually filmed and later released only on a special edition disc goes somewhere far darker. In that ending, Simon actually gets away clean with the stolen gold, melted down into statues to smuggle it out of the country. McClane, framed for the whole heist, loses his job, his pension, and his marriage falls apart completely. Months later, with nothing left to lose, he tracks Simon down alone to a bar in Hungary. He doesn't call for backup. He pulls out a modified rocket launcher with every marking and sight removed, so neither of them knows which end will fire, sets it on the table, and forces Simon into a game he calls McClane Says. Answer the riddles right, or spin the launcher and pull the trigger. It plays out like Russian roulette with a weapon that can kill anyone standing near it, including McClane himself. Simon eventually pulls the trigger, and it's over. Screenwriter Jonathan Hensley has said on the record that this ending was scrapped because it made McClane feel too cold, too vengeful, more like a man torturing someone for pleasure than a hero doing his job. And that's exactly why this is the real answer to the question we opened with. The filmmakers themselves built and filmed a version of McClane who stops being the reluctant hero and becomes something closer to the villain he spent 3 movies fighting. They looked at it, and they decided audiences weren't supposed to see that version of him, so they buried it, right up until a home video release quietly let it back out into the world decades later. And this franchise has a whole pattern of getting sanitized right at the finish line. The most famous line in the entire series, "Yippee-ki-yay," got its punchline muffled under a gunshot for the PG-13 theatrical cut, so only part of it is audible, while the unrated cut lets it play in full. When Die Hard 2 got edited for broadcast television, the redub became the now legendary "Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon."
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
A name that belongs to no character in the entire movie. British terrestrial television had their own version, swapping the line for Kemosabe instead. Even overseas, the German dub renamed the terrorists entirely, turning Hans into Jack and Carl into Charlie. Every single one of these edits exists for the same reason. Someone, somewhere, decided the raw version of this story was too much for audiences to handle safely. And every single time, the sanitized version became just as famous, sometimes more famous, than the original. Which brings me to the bigger picture here. Die Hard is a movie about an ordinary guy pushed past his limits by forces bigger than him, forced to decide what kind of person he's willing to become to survive. That's not just an 80s action movie theme. That's basically the core question of every piece of technology and every system we build today. How far do you let a person or a machine or an institution go before the thing meant to protect you starts looking like the threat itself? The filmmakers built that darker version of McClane once, on camera with real actors, and then decided it was too honest to show you. So here's what I actually want to know. Do you think the McClane Says ending should have made the actual theatrical cut of Die Hard with a Vengeance? Or was cutting it the right call? Team dark ending or team the one we got? Sound off below. I read every comment on these. If you learned something you didn't know going into this video, do me a favor and hit like, drop a comment with your take, and subscribe if you want more of these deep dives into the movies you thought you already knew everything about.